atmosphere and not where anyone feels like they're on display or that they have to perform for anyone. And always have a refreshment, because that takes away from the stress of any kind of a program. Sometimes people are a little bit hesitant to be part of a program because they don't want to embarrass themselves. You know, they don't have filters, but they still have feelings. As I say, it's a disease. It's a disease of the brain, but not the heart and soul.
Oh, I love that saying. But it's so true, because I think that their feelings are more exaggerated to kind of make up for what their brain can't, do. And you're absolutely right. A lot of people coming into a community are a little hesitant, and I always say it's almost like there's the kids at the sandbox when we had little kids, and we would take our kids to play at the park. You know, most kids aren't going to run up and join right away. They're going to kind of test the waters, see what it's like, and then eventually welcome to come and join. They'll kind of step closer and closer and join the group. And that's kind of what we do at our courts, too, is that we encourage them to come, we welcome them, make them feel welcome and comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And typically someone with dementia, if you ask them if they would like to go to a program, the answer is no.
Yeah.
But if you tell them that we're getting ready to start the program, we're just waiting on you, follow me, just down the hallway.
Yeah, or, hey, the music's starting, come on, you don't want to miss it.
Right.
And these are the kinds of techniques that our staff is trained for, to encourage the residents to participate, get them involved. I know a lot of caregivers say, well, I can't get, my mom to do anything. Sometimes it's just in the approach, right?
Right. Yes, 90% of the time it is really in the approach. A lot of times, anyone likes to help. So if you told someone that you really needed their help, I don't know of anybody who would just object and say, I can't do that for you today.
Yeah, well, you can always try that. I need your help.
That's right.
And, just see what happens. That could be some magic words there for some caregivers.
That's right.
So a small group is meant to encourage participation. Sometimes residents, people with dementia, we call our guests at Arden Courts residents. That's their home, and that's where they live, and their residents. When they are encouraged to participate in an activity, it's usually something that they all have an interest in. And that effect, we have created a trademark program just for the small group. Tell them about the ETT, and it stands for Engagement Therapy Treatment.
That's correct.
Go a little bit into that.
The Engagement Therapy Treatment program is such that each of the people would have a definite part in the program itself. You would start off, first of all, by giving an invitation. And we have found in our group of people at Arden Courts that an invitation is best about 15 minutes before, because the person will fret over if it's the day before. They may think, well, where am I supposed to be, and all that, and you don't want to create distress. So it's something special. They get an invitation, and each of the programs has a definitive beginning, middle, and end. One of my favorite programs that I did one time was on W.C. Fields. And W.C. Fields was quite the character. He used to smoke cigars, and he also used to keep a flask with whiskey, but he called it his lemonade. So we served lemonade, and we had those big pretzels, the big pretzel.
I love it.
And one of the favorite comments was, I guess at one of his shows, one of the interns had put lemonade in his flask. So the line was, who put lemonade in my lemonade?
But it's something that you can all talk about. These would be residents that had maybe that in similar interest. It might not be talking about W.C. Fields. Maybe it's gardening. And they're going to talk about gardening and do activities centered around gardening.
Right. You want to take something that would interest each person. And each person, too, does not necessarily have to contribute at the same level. I always like to have something written, and I also like to let them have an opportunity to write their name and answer a brief questionnaire at the bottom, which would be, did you enjoy this program, yes or no? Or would you like to come back again? And what was your favorite part? Or what instrument did you hear if you have a music program? But simple questions, and always have them write their name, because many people forget how to write their name. They don't get that many occasions to write your name, and everybody's name is special.
And that's true, because the things that we first learn, growing up, are the last things that we forget.
Correct.
So knowing your name, being able to write your name, that we learned that as a child in kindergarten, that's something that, you're right, they don't get a chance to write that anymore. And I think that's great. That's a great thing to do, because it makes them very proud. They still do this.
Right. And most of the ladies will use the maiden name.
Because they forgot they were married?
Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if they forgot if they were married, but the name itself.
Maybe they wish they never had gotten married.
That's true, too. You never know.
No, seriously, they do. They live in the past. And because they forget, at any point in time, they may think that they are a young teenager or a young mother or a young wife, and they live in the past as time goes on, because
that's right.
Things they lose last.
And meeting them where they are is very, very important. We had one lady who was asking for her mother every day, and the kindest answer is, no, I haven't seen your mother today.
So you don't say, hey, you're 80 years old, your mother's been long gone, because what would that do to her?
Well, first of all, she would have to grieve the loss of a mother all over again. And we've had that happen, too, with people that have gone to the hospital that we've had no problems with in our community. And then they go to the hospital, and the hospital called us and said, what do you give her for agitation? We reminded her that her husband's gone. And that's like, we don't do that.
Right.
Your husband, she might say, have you seen my husband? No, but you know how men are. Lots of times they leave early, and so come on down with the group now, and we'll.
So you want to change the subject and deflect that. So if the hospital knew, more how to handle it, they wouldn't have to give the medications, because, they would know not to remind her that her husband had passed. It's going to keep her from getting agitated and upset, and just change the subject and move on to something else.
And sometimes, too, when they get something in their head, they change their mind about it. That one lady that was asking about her mother, one day she came in and she said, I think my mother's gone. And I said, why? She said, I saw myself in the mirror, and I think I'm about 85. She said, so I don't think my mother's alive. And I said, no, you're right, she's not.
So you confirmed for her.
Right. But then the next day she was looking for her again, and once again I hadn't seen her that day. So
her reality was coming and going. And, and that happens. I mean, that's natural and normal, too. Yeah. So these engagement therapy treatment is specifically, again, just to reiterate, that we do specifically for people in small groups that have similar interests and that are at the same level. So you could do an engagement therapy treatment program for a high-functioning group, a middle level, and maybe even a lower.
And sometimes you could do the same program, only it would be a little bit different, like the WC Fields might be a little bit snippet of a video rather than having them read something out loud about his life.
Yeah, because we want to make them feel comfortable, participate at their own level.
Right.
That would be great. So I love that. And then, of course, there's the large group activities. And tell me about large group activities.
Large group activities are supposed to be a no-stress activity. Typically, the best group activity is in a circle, because people can engage with other people on the other side of the room.
They can see each other.
Right. And the moderator would sit in a chair that's a little bit higher than the rest of the group, so that you're looking at them and they're looking at you at just about eye level or a little bit higher, so they know who the moderator is. If you're all on the same level, they'll hear a voice and they won't know where it's coming from.
Oh, that's really good.
So that's very important.
So you see that there's very specific things that, as a trained program services coordinator, activity director, if you would, that, these are things that we can provide that maybe, the normal layperson wouldn't really know to do, but they can get some tips from us and certainly learn, how to do some of these things. Of course, we can do a lot of things in a community, and we have a big community room. We have the arts and crafts studio, which we do the small group activities.
Right.
But sometimes you can take some of these and replicate at home. sometimes you can't. So I always say that Arden Courts is like home, but better, because we have things that we do there that you really can't do at home.
Right.
Like with having, your an entertainer come in, and it'd be nice.
Music is very important.
Music is very important. So with a large group activity, would be for everybody, but everybody could enjoy it. Everybody loves the music and come in. Now, when you have a musical program, music is stimulating for just about, anybody, because it's called the universal language.
Right.
Smile and music, right? So if you're doing a sing-along, would everybody participate, or if they don't, how would they benefit from being in a sing-along?
Many times they benefit without you even realizing it. Many times someone will be saying the words to the song about a half hour later when they're wheeling it down the hallway in the chair, or if they're tapping their feet. And to some, just being calm and sitting there and relaxed, you can see it, the relaxation in their shoulders, and know that they are not stressed at that time, or if they were in pain or something like that, that the pain has subsided some from listening to the music and relaxing.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows all the words like I do. I know.
I've been doing this a long
time. That's right.
Well, there's been so many instances where someone with dementia has stopped speaking, but yet put them in a sing-along with some music, and you're singing words to some old songs that they would remember, and all of a sudden the words just start flowing out of their mouth, and their family is stunned because they say, well, she doesn't talk anymore, and there she is singing.
Yes, we have had that, and we've had family members that say, no, my mother doesn't know that song, and all of a sudden the mother's singing the song and singing the words with me, and the family can't believe that their mom knows that song.
Yeah. And so I think it's wonderful. Music is just something that will touch them in all ways, and even if they don't sing the words, they're still getting what I call passive stimulation.
Absolutely.
Because they're watching, they're listening, they're in a group, they're seeing people react, and it touches the other senses. And so they're getting that passive, even if they're not actively participating, it still benefits them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's good. Well, this is great. We're going to have a lot more activities to talk about and to share with everybody. We're going to take a short commercial break, so we'll be right back.
Do you need the advice?
Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
Hi, and welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info. I'm Marcia Teal, your host. This is my guest today, Nancy Turco, and we are live on location in Austin, Texas.
Right.
Nancy is a Program Services Director, the head of the department for activities for the residents at the Arden Courts of Austin. And so we're talking today about programming and why a person with dementia needs certain types of programming, how it can benefit them. I want to thank at this time our national sponsor, because Arden Courts makes this show possible. and they are a national sponsor. And so Arden Courts is a resource for you. They have a lot of things for the caregiver. In addition to taking care of your loved one with dementia, they reach out to you, the caregiver, and they offer a lot of resources, support groups, and seminars. And one of the things that Arden Courts would like to provide to you, this is the 36-hour day book. This is a wonderful book. I don't know if you can see it there. There you go. It is really a resource that you should have in your own home. This book is wonderful for explaining the differences in different kinds of dementia, tips on caregiving, going through challenges. You can peruse through it and pick up on different chapters that might be applicable to you. And this book is absolutely free, just by calling Arden Courts. The toll-free number to call to get this book is 888-478-2410. Again, 888-478-2410. Give them a call. Tell them that you heard about this free offer for the 36-hour day book on the Caregiver Show, and they will get your name and address and make sure that they mail one right to you. So, Nancy, we're talking about all of these different types of programs, but programming doesn't have to be something, very structured. It can be something as simple as folding the towel, and we call that lifestyle programming.
That's right.
So tell us why lifestyle programming is important, and give us some more examples.
Well, lifestyle programming is important because it is learned things that people have done for many years in their life, and you don't want to let go of those exact little things that they can still do. That wasn't really said the right way, but you understand what I mean. That's right.
Because, for example, the example of folding towels. Mm-hmm. Now, I remember folding towels as a kid and learning how to do that at home.
Yeah.
And then you do it all of the life. And women, that's what we do. And so in addition to doing something that we know how to do, it makes us feel good, doesn't it?
That's right. Anytime you can help somebody out, it makes you feel good.
But it's a task that we can be successful at.
Right.
And it's a simple thing, but you'd be surprised if given, your loved one something to do. Because I know a lot of times the caregivers say, oh, just sit there and, they turn on the
I've got this.
I've got this, and because they're kind of controlling, they want to make sure it's done right.
Right.
You can't really mess up folding the towel.
No.
And so I know of a lady who just gave her husband a broom, and he would sweep. I mean, I think he swept, the tile until it was warm, but he enjoyed it.
Right.
He felt like he was contributing. And that's so important for loved ones that have dementia to feel contributing to the community or to the household, because it elevates their self-esteem. It makes them feel like they're part of something.
Yeah.
And we want to do that at home with our loved ones, but we also do it at Arden Courts with our residents and allow them to participate. We had a lady who was her whole life a waitress, and she had that need to continue to serve. So her job was to pour the water for all the other residents in her house, the part that she lived, and she felt good because that brought her back to her waitressing days.
Right.
Made her feel good, and I also gave her a little tip for it,
There you go, and that was a comfort zone.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah. So we give them jobs. And so give your loved one a job at home. Give them something they can do. And like Nancy said, if they don't do it right, no matter, just tell them they did a good job and you can fix it later.
Right. Cleaning out the everything drawer in your kitchen. I mean, everyone has one of those.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how it's sorted. Let them sort it out and put all the rubber bands together or whatever. And then, the next day, perhaps, you can just dump it out again and say, oh, I'm sorry, I knocked this over. Can you help me set this back up again?
Well, that's a really good idea because they can sort, especially I've noticed a lot of our engineer types and accountant types, because they're very detail-oriented.
Yes.
And they like to put things together that are the same. Yeah, so that's a great job, and I have one of those junk drawers in my kitchen, so I know what you're talking about.
What works well that we have used for the men, too, are PVC pipes. I went to Home Depot, and they very graciously just cut up a whole bunch of PVC pipes for me, and I bought some elbows and some squares, and It's a plumber's puzzle. And you would be surprised at how well people can put that together and work on it.
Yeah, they like to tinker with things.
Right.
You know, mechanic type, and guys like to fix things, so something to fix, right? Well, that's great. So, you know, we have a monthly calendar, and I brought a sample of it to kind of show our folks here. And this is actually created by you, the Program Services Coordinator, every month. And it's chock full, and hold it up there for a second and see it. It's chock full of activities. And every day is different, but everything is on a schedule. Everything follows the schedule. Why is that important to have different activities, but yet follow a schedule, the same type of things doing at the same time every day?
Structure is very important for people with dementia. For everyone, structure is important, whether we like it or not. It is important. And to keep busy all day long and know what's coming next is very important, because it gets very stressful for someone with dementia. The unknown is very stressful. But if they know that, you know what, after you have your snack, we're going to listen to some music, and then we'll have supper, they can see that on the board, just the basic time frame of it, and that will help them relax a little bit, because they do know what's coming next. Especially in the afternoon when people start to sundown, we always have music, because we have a joke about singing for your supper. But everybody knows that you go to supper right after you sing your song.
Yeah, so you have a routine, and routine, like you said, is very important in the day-to-day, because I know a lot of caregivers, they're so stressed and they have so much to do, and they're dragging their loved ones around with them, and nothing is ever the same, so it just causes a lot of confusion, and they get kind of stressed out themselves, you know, and they're picking up on those vibes of the caregiver.
Right.
So try to put a little bit of structure into your day when you're caring for your loved one at home, like Arden Course does, because it is good for them. It does reduce that anxiety for them. They know what's coming next. It reduces negative behaviors. And so here's an example. On a Wednesday here in the month of October, you start out with the Art and Cafe and News.
Yes.
So you do simple.
Simple. It's a daily chronicle that we get online, and a lot of it is news from years ago, what happened on this day, and talking about a specific movie star or a specific author or something like that.
And that's great, because you're going back in time, which is what they can relate to. Now there's something next after we do the news. We have Winston Visits. What's Winston Visits?
Winston is a dog. I think he's a basset hound, and he's been visiting for the past 3 or 4 months, and he enjoys all of the residents, and they like to give him treats, and he eats a lot of treats.
I used to have a basset hound. They do eat a lot. So you have pet therapy.
That's pet therapy, right.
Okay. Now, why is pet therapy important to have as part of a service for people with dementia? Why is it so important?
Most people do like to feel like they can nurture something, and there's something about a dog or even a cat, too, just that feeling of touching something. Pets especially don't expect anything in return. They love you just because you're you.
Unconditional.
Yes. So that feeling is very rewarding. You know, I bring my dog a lot of times. I bring Buttercup, and I had to laugh because she's very soft, but she doesn't look it. Her hair looks wiry. And one of the residents, she said, "Oh, she's so soft." And I said, "Yes, she is soft." She said, "Well, of course she should be. I brush her every day." Well, good for you. You know,
and that's good, because a lot of times, too, with pet therapy, the animal will remind a resident of an animal they had, a pet they had maybe years ago. We actually had a resident that it touched something in that brain of his that he started crying because he remembered a dog that he used to have, and the wife was just, wow, he remembered that.
Yeah.
And so it really touched him in a great way, in a positive way, brought back some memories.
Buttercup answers to a lot of other people's pet things that they had for their animals.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Buttercup's a sweet dog. So you go along, you have a sing-along, you talk about maybe a theme, you do themes. So you might have a theme of the day might be animals, and then you're going to talk about animals. Right. And then you break for lunch, and then you have some free time, and then you go back into activities, and then you end the day usually with the sing-along.
Right.
You know, then it's dinner time.
That's
so
right.
that would be a typical day.
Yes, and during the week there's some evening programs, sometimes a bingo game or a short movie. About 45 minutes is about as much as a person with dementia can focus on. It can be very stressful.
You've got to pay attention to those attention spans.
Yes. Yes.
Because sometimes they're very short. Sometimes you can get away with longer, depending on what the activity is.
Yes.
And what about art? Do you have art plays a part, like art therapy
yes.
plays a part? Because that's encouraged also.
We do art. What I have found, though, if it's a purposeful activity, they're more inclined. If you said, do you want to draw a picture or do you want to paint a flower, the answer is no. But how about if you could help me make these plates so that we can give them to your daughter? You know, we use the decoupage and put them on plastic plates.
Oh, nice.
And then you can give cookies away. They like to be able to give something, to give a gift. And so things like that are important. Our favorite project that we've done is for a kindergarten class. We got all the vocabulary words for kindergartners, and we made books and punched holes in them, and they're in 3-ring binders. And they came up with the sentences, and I typed them up, but they could only use the words that were in the kindergarten vocabulary.
That's a great
It
idea.
was simple, but it wasn't babyish. It wasn't, can you find an apple? Can you color this or that? And they really enjoyed looking through the magazines and ripping the pictures out, and then we, cut them a little bit neater. And it's especially good for the children that are English as a second language students.
Yeah, and again, that had a purpose because they're doing it for somebody else.
Right.
But at the same time, it was an activity.
Right.
And it stimulated their brain because they had to come up with the sentences only using those words.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really good activity that used a lot of the different senses. It was all a lot of hand-eye coordination with the cutting and things like that. So these are the kind of things that folks could do at home and, make some simple little gifts for your loved ones at birthdays or holidays because they really do enjoy that.
They do. They do enjoy it.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, Nancy's going to share some more wonderful stories and some tips on how you can engage more your loved ones at home, and you don't want to miss that, so we'll be right back.
Do you need the advice of a
Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do.
478-2410
We
for
understand.
additional information
We can help.
about
To
any
learn
of the
more,
unique
visit
services Arden Courts
arden-courts.com.
provides.
Arden Courts follows equal housing.
You are listening to your host, Marsha Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marsha. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and we are back. I am Marsha Teal. My guest today is Nancy Turco. We are live from Austin, Texas. Nancy is the Program Services Coordinator at the Austin, Texas Arden Courts. And she's joined me today. We're talking about programming, how to engage your loved one, how Art in Course engages your loved one when they come to live, and things that you can do as a caregiver at home, the same thing. So, Nancy, we talked about all these wonderful things, and there's another stimulating activity that if you were to say to just about anybody, including a person with dementia, let's exercise.
Yeah,
right?
No. Nobody likes the E word.
Nobody likes the E word. Don't want to exercise. But exercise is important.
It is very important.
And it's something that everybody needs to do. But how do you make exercise fun for the residents at Art in Course?
Well, we use a few different videos. Sometimes we exercise just to music, and we'll do things like, what's your favorite vegetable? Pretend you're picking something like apples from a tree and reaching up to pick up the apples, or, oh, what kind of apples? Macintosh. You know, they forget that they're exercising while they're picking the apples, or picking vegetables from the ground, pulling carrots, and how hard the carrots are, the big carrots.
So they're sitting down and bending over and pulling those imaginary carrots out.
Yes, always sitting down. It's the safest way. Mm-hmm. And I had created 2 exercise DVDs that I use, and they are being sold now on, I think it's called, Best Alzheimer's Products. They're the ones that sell it. But I use music that's all public domain, so I didn't have to get permission to use any of the music. It's Let Me Call You Sweetheart, 1910, The Fearless Quartet, those kind of songs that everybody knows. And so they can sing along, and they also forget that they're exercising. And so the music has background music, and I sing with it, and then we harmonize with it, too. So
yeah, and I was just the other day, I went by the community center, and you all were doing balloon tennis.
Balloon tennis.
Right. So tell everybody what balloon tennis is.
Well, balloon tennis, you can set up a low net of some sort. You don't always need that, but the idea is just to keep the balloon moving no matter what. And you can use any part of your body, but you can't stand up. So that's the real challenge.
And actually that's fun because they're moving, they're kicking at it, they're swatting at it. You got music playing, it's lively, it's like a party in there, and everybody's having fun. So you disguise the exercise as fun.
That's right. We have one lady who is totally blind. You let her know when the balloon's coming towards her, and she gets a big kick out of it.
Go
ahead, that's right there. And we play noodle ball. We cut noodles in half, and we
hit long styrofoam.
Yes, the ones and we use those with a balloon or a ball, and it takes a lot of upper body strength to hit a ball and move it. Mm-hmm. You know, so you just have to remind them that there's no hitting the scats, because that's always the fun thing when you go by. They flat it.
And if they do, it's okay. It's just
That's right.
So exercise is very important because, you know, it gets the blood moving. You want to make sure that they get limbered up for the day. So you have daily exercise.
Yes, every single day.
Of some form. So it's very, very important. So that's going to make them feel better all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so some other tips that you have come up with in your exercise video or in your programming of some other things that you want to share that you've done that maybe folks can do at home if they don't, if they're not ready yet to come into an experience Art in Course.
Mm-hmm.
They're just in the beginning stage of this dementia and they're learning. Keep tabs on all the things that we're talking about today, because as you do and as your loved one is used to doing these types of things, it'll make it nice when they do come into either a daycare or to an Art in Course, because they're going to be used to doing these things, and we want to continue to stimulate them in wonderful ways.
Right. Games, you making bean bags. They can make a bean bag. You sew up the 3 corners of it, and they can put the beans in there. A lot of our residents have helped out with that. And also with the magazines, sorting the magazines. Sorting is a very good tool, as you had said before.
Mm-hmm.
Different things into different categories, or colors. Straws, can you mix up these straws and things like that really help. But mostly it's just keeping busy and letting them enjoy themselves and have success at whatever they do.
That's it, fail-free environment. Now, you brought up, before we have to end today, because our hour is almost over, you brought up that one of the ladies is blind or partially blind. And when you're doing activities, you have to be cognizant of someone's abilities to do certain things, especially when it comes to vision. And so I know you can talk about field of vision.
Yes, a field of vision with a person who's in about the mid-stage is about 12 inches. So think of maybe a picture frame. And if you had to have that, you would have no peripheral vision, because that would be the side of it. So you can't see that someone taps you on the shoulder. It would frighten you. It would startle you. You also can't see your feet. If you're looking like this, you cannot see your feet. And that's when people start to shuffle. And then you give them a walker so they don't fall. And what do? They look down because they can't see their feet. So they walk way far away from the walker sometimes because they're not used to that and they're afraid that they're going to fall. Different surfaces are tough. You think about all the different surfaces that you step on every day, stepping onto the floor in the morning and then onto a rug or down a small step, a curb. All of those things can be very dangerous. I know for certain that there are some people, if you have a black welcome mat out in front, they won't step on it because it looks like a big hole that they're going to fall into.
And we don't realize this unless you're seeing it through a person's eyes that has dementia, and know that with maybe the lack of peripheral vision, with there's a spatial differentiation sometimes, between surfaces, like you say, everything blends in together. So when you're doing activities, you want to make sure that you take into account, that ability of that person, what they can do, to make sure that it is successful.
And meeting them at eye level is very important rather than standing over someone to show them how to do something. Meeting them at eye level, and when you reach for someone's hand, you always put your hand open so that they can take your hand. That's the process. Because
so instead of you reaching down, they might think you're grabbing at them.
So this way they are you give them the chance to be more in control. And always give about 3-foot space. Although people with dementia don't really have any space filters, we know that they do have filters for who's ever in their space. Right. You need about 3 feet of space.
Yeah, these are all really, really great tips. Eye contact.
Yes, absolutely.
You got to have eye contact. So if you're talking to somebody, and if you're trying to explain something to them, how to do something, engaging them in activity, don't wear those sunglasses that change colors inside and outside, because you might not realize that they can't see your eyes. And so that might frighten them. And eye contact is so important.
It is very important.
So that they see that you're right there. These are wonderful tips that people can take advantage of. I want to thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
This has been awesome. And keep doing what you're doing, because you did a great job at it. And before we go, I just want to say you wear a lot of hats. You also are a support group facilitator for several support groups, not only at Arden Courts, but around town. And so you wear a lot of hats, and say something to the caregivers about support groups.
Support groups are very important. A lot of times people don't want to go to a support group because they don't want to dump their problems on someone else or feel like they're a burden to other people. But one thing that we have learned about support groups, and everybody has said this who's gone to one, is that you don't feel so alone anymore. This is a very lonely disease if you're at home, especially with a loved one, and you feel like no one can help you, and this is a journey that you need to take on yourself. And it's just so important to get the support from other people, because if you do that, it won't seem so dreary, and you might get also some good ideas on what to try. Not everything works every time, every day. Even any of the tips that I've shared won't work all the time, but you get different ideas from different people, and that's what really helps you. But mostly it's the feeling of not being alone.
Yeah, good advice. So if you're a caregiver, check out support groups near you. Check out an Arden Courts near you for information on support groups. Call the toll-free number of Arden Courts to get the free 36-hour day book. That number again is 888-478-2410. And tell them that you'd like to get that book. It's absolutely free. They'll mail it right to you. Do some of these fun things with your loved one. We are here to help, and we are live in Austin, Texas. Next week, I'll be back in Boca Raton, Florida, with more Caregiver Solutions info. Until then, don't forget, give somebody a hug because they need it, and so do you.
That's right.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teal. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on CareGiverSolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its